Welcome to Behind the Muscle podcast. Today's guest is an IFBB Pro bodybuilder. Today's guest is Anthony DeHerrera. Anthony, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
For sure. You're absolutely welcome. Anthony, I'm excited to chop it up with you. The first question that I have for you is, who are a few of your favorite bodybuilders of all time?
Oh, man. Hands down, Ronnie Coleman, of course. I don't know. I've just been enamored by that guy since I was a child. Dorian Yates, Jay Cutler, who you can see behind me on my wall here. Phil Heath. Man, who's that? Surprised I forgot his name. Derek, the one, the 212 recently. At the Olympic.
Yeah, Derek Lunsford.
Yeah, Lunsford, another one of my favorites. Lee Priest, of course. Can't forget Lee Priest. Have to go with those guys as my top.
Excellent. So at what age, Anthony, did you start lifting weights? And then why did you start lifting weights at that age?
I kind of started, it was a little bit before my freshman year. I was tiny. God, I don't think I weighed more than 95 pounds. And, I'd always been called a midget, a runt my entire life. And I remember I had a almost too small for the 103 class, freshman year of high school. And I was just sick of getting picked on. And, my high school weights coach said, hey, or PE coach said, hey, maybe you should start taking up some weights, and gave me a bottle of creatine, and creatine was big back in the late 90s. And I'm like, man, this is the start of it, and I just took it up and loved it, and put on 10, 20 pounds within the next 6 months to a year or so. And I just stopped picking on me so much.
For sure, man. Once you start getting a little bit bigger, that type of stuff usually subsides, and it's kind of cool. I can relate, because my freshman year, going into high school, I competed that August before I started my freshman year in high school. I competed in a powerlifting meet, and I weighed in at 103 pounds, and it's like,
okay,
so I can definitely relate, and there's definitely some crap you get for being that size, especially in high school. So I kind of like to use that question, Anthony, just to transition into my guest's childhood and backstory a little bit. So talk about where you grew up, talk about, family, talk about sports you played, just paint that picture of childhood up to about high school, and then we'll move on from there.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Growing up, I was a pretty responsible kid. Was really avid in sports. I was great at football. MVP player of the state, first team all state. I had all the records for rushing yards. I was a running back at the time. I was little and I was really fast. My parents weren't really around. My dad left me when I was younger. My mom had, did the best she could raising me, but it was kind of hard for a single mother trying to survive. So I kind of found my niche with sport and extracurricular activities. And I kind of just enthralled myself in that, just to kind of take away from my kind of loneliness at home, I guess, if you will. And that's a place where I kind of felt like I was wanted and I was accepted, and people looked up to me, and I was really good at it. I got the attention that I probably didn't get at home. I was a really good student. Just played tons of sports, and I stayed out of trouble. And that's what led me into high school. And I felt like when I finally got into high school, that was going to be my ticket out. I'm from Nevada, and I'm from northeastern Portland, Nevada, and it's not really much going on up there. You know what I mean? So that's why I love the sports, and it took a part of me. And I've always admired strong, courageous, powerful athletes, growing up, like powerlifters and bodybuilders, and, all the action heroes like Arnold and Sylvester Stallone and, Jean-Claude Van Damme and stuff like that. And, I really wanted to be like that, so I started as young. That's why I wrestled and played sports my entire life. But, childhood was pretty good. I kind of skipped over some of that, I guess. It was good, even though my parents weren't around much. I did the best I could. I'm not going to say I had a terrible life. I could have probably had a more loving life, but I did the best I could with what I had.
So I want to ask you something, Anthony, just because of the home environment or the home situation with your dad maybe not being around, did you kind of grow up with a little bit of a chip on your shoulder or not per se?
You know, possibly. I don't really know. I was looking back. I mean, I guess I just kind of was who I was. I didn't really question why I was that way. I'm pretty sure some people could have probably looked at me and said, well, this guy's parents aren't around. This is why he is the way he is. But I didn't know any better because I was a kid. I do know that growing up, I had like trust issues and stuff like that with parental figures and so forth. And always had kind of like that fear of abandonment. Not trying to play that victim role or anything like that. But as a child, I feel like that was definitely a part of my life.
Yeah, for sure. Was there any adults, coach or teacher, anything like that really was a positive influence for you in your younger years?
It was, definitely my high school weightlifting coach, Mr. Barrett. I mean, at the time, kind of told me the things that I didn't want to hear, kind of like a lot of coaches when we're younger, we don't really know any better. We take offense to it. But when we get older, we look back, it's like, oh, that guy was just trying to help me. You know what I mean? I had an extenuous amount of teachers and, my high school football coach, Mr. Dunn, or Coach John, kind of took me under his wing. And I had quite a few of those guys. Definitely played a part in my betterment in my life.
Love it. So let's talk about once you were kind of getting wrapping up with high school, what were you planning on doing? What did you want to be, quote unquote, when you grew up? And then once you graduated, did life take you in that direction or did life take you in a different direction? Talk about post high school.
Man, it's a trip. High school, I was pretty much like the typical Johnny football hero. Dated the cheerleader, got all the records and, kind of thought, I was living on top of the world. I was a little overconfident in high school. I had won the Muscle Mania World Championships when I was a teenager. I think I was 17 or 18 years old at the time, and did really great at football. I thought I was going to get recruited by all these D1 schools, and I didn't because nobody really heard of me because our school was so small. I wanted to get out, of my town. I kind of felt like it was down there, and I just felt like I was just such this just amazing athlete in person, had all these great qualities, and I could give this to the adult world. And that definitely was not the case. I got out of high school. I dropped out of college, probably within, I think, the first semester because I was doing drugs and drinking and, didn't follow my bodybuilding aspirations like I wanted to. Kind of like I got slapped in the face pretty much. if I could summarize it all, you know what I mean? That's the best way I could probably put it.
Yeah, for sure. So you competed as a teenager in bodybuilding. Talk about that, please.
Okay. Yeah. Obviously football and bodybuilding, but really bodybuilding was my biggest passion in high school. I had I had muscular development and flex magazines where I cut out all the pages and I plastered them all over my wall. My whole room was a collage with like bodybuilders. I seem a little weird, but like I was fascinated by bodybuilding. I had all the books, ordered like the Gary Unit posing videos and was taking all the supplements. I wouldn't eat sugar, you know what I mean? Like I think at the time, I think I used like for my competition, I used baby oil as like posing oil at the time, which is like you're not supposed to do that, rookie mistake. But I was just enthralled with it. It was kind of it's kind of my way of escaping, I guess, if you will. I kind of partied a little bit, but bodybuilding was like it was like my main thing. So I finally just decided I wanted. There was a competition. It was in Vegas, and I'm from Nevada, so I was like, oh, I'm going to try this competition out, and lo and behold, I won. And kind of just felt on top of the world at that point.
So talk about, I want you to talk about and expound on that a little bit more, because, you know, a lot of people don't compete in bodybuilding as a teenager and then win their competition. So talk about that. What was it about bodybuilding at that age, you think, Anthony, really kind of pulled you in, and how did you even find, you know, the competition and compete? Cause like you're a kid, you're playing sports, you're going to school. How did all that happen?
I was, you know, I think at the time I got a computer and the internet for the first time. So I think MSN search was like the big thing back then. So I'd look up like local bodybuilding competitions. Or I'd like, you know, it's the first time I had heard of a search engine using the internet. So I'm like, this makes me sound hella old, man. You know, I searched competitions, you know, and I you know, bodybuilding.com, the website was really big. I got bodybuilder of the week for that, you know, and I think my email was posted. So people would reach out to me and ask me questions, and, you know, just send me supplements and apparel and stuff like that. So, I mean, it was really the internet, you know, that I started like searching things. I think I was even a part of like a few like bodybuilding chat rooms and stuff like that, where like AOL chat was like cool back then, where, you know, we just kind of exchange ideas. And so it's basically, you know, it was the internet, you know, kind of just doing searches. That's how I found out.
I love it, man. We're going way back. I'm sure we're probably around the same age, because that was definitely some good times. So yeah. I wanna and you can talk about it as much as you want, but like, this is really the, you know, the impetus behind the Muscle Podcast, right? It's kind of pull back the layers and, you know, share your story. So, you know, you're this great athlete, you compete in this bodybuilding competition. Then you said you kind of got into drugs, you kind of got into partying, dropped out of college. Like, where did life take you? Did you just kind of work a dead end job then, and then just kind of like, you know, waste some time in your 20s? What did that look like in that age range?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what happened. I didn't have any principles to live by. I didn't have any direction, didn't have a thought, you know, not pointing fingers or anything. I'm responsible for the choice I made, but I didn't really have like good positive role models that like stayed in my life, you know, when I got out of high school. So I thought, hey, you know, I'm free. I'll just do what I want. You know, I thought I could make gains, you know, from working out by drinking all week and doing drugs and stuff. And it doesn't work like that, you know. And honestly, I'm an addict. You know, it's a part of my life. And if you're not, you know, your addiction and your recovery, if it's not something that you're, you know, taking care of and working out itself and paying attention to, it's something that can really take hold of you. I didn't know that at the time. I thought I was having fun as a young adult, you know, but it got carried away. You know, I stopped working out, I stopped eating right, you know, and stopped going to the gym a lot. Well, the gym was really like in and out kind of. Before, it used to be like a priority, bodybuilding in my life, you know, whereas like in my 20s, I put it on the back burner, and I put partying and drugs and drinking as a priority in my life. And I just spun out of control from there, basically.
So talk to me about maybe that point where we would maybe call it the breaking point, or that point where things really, you know, started to change for you, Anthony.
I mean, full transparency, I got really, really, really deep into drugs, like that world. And I was incarcerated a couple times, and people were telling me like, hey man, it's like, you're really going down that pathway where you're not really having fun and enjoying life anymore. Like, you're becoming like a junkie, you know. And that's where I had gone. And I got into a lot of trouble with the state, and I'd gone to jail, and I got let out, got put in a homeless shelter and in an outpatient drug treatment program. And I discovered Stoic philosophy, and I got clean. And then from that point, like, I think it was in my late 20s, I think it was 28. I've been sober since I'm 28, or I was 28, I'm almost 38 now. Things kind of turned around as soon as I got sober again. So
talk to me about Stoicism then, because that's something that you have on your IG profile, and that's something that maybe a lot of the listeners don't even know what that is. I'm very familiar with it, but talk about that. How did that change your life? What does that look like practically for you, even at this point in your life, Anthony?
Man, honestly, I remember, if I could paint a little picture, somebody gave me a book. It was called the Marcus Aurelius Meditations. And he was obviously a Stoic emperor centuries and centuries ago, most powerful man in the world. It was basically a diary. And I read this diary, this book about Stoicism and you know, his life as a Stoic emperor. And it just blew my mind. Like, I had learned things about virtue and living a life of principle and values, and you know, focusing on Stoicism, really about, you know, seeking virtue, focusing on the things that you can control and disregarding the things that you can't control. So for somebody like a bodybuilder and recovery, that's, you know, that can be paramount and you're, you know, in your life. And so I discovered this book, and it changed my life, you know. And I started just kind of researching more, learning about Stoicism, authors of Stoicism. I read all these Ryan Holiday books. I don't know if you're familiar with Ryan Holiday, but you know, I took it. I just was like, wow, like I could really apply this to my life, and I have. And that was really like the kickstart that really catapulted me into I want to take my bodybuilding to the next level. I'm getting older at 37, you know, and I'm like, I've always wanted to become a professional bodybuilder, even when I was a kid. Like, it was the biggest dream of mine. And finding this philosophy and realizing like you only live so long, you know, I was like, I really wanted to take advantage of it. And that was a couple of years ago that I was like, you know, I'm going to really do this with my life. And it's really helped with my bodybuilding, and just my overall lifestyle, you know, just the way that I live my life, gives me purpose now, you know. And I apply it to, because it's all about discipline too. And for somebody that lacks discipline, bodybuilding is it's not for you. so I mean, I think what's really helpful is like a lot of people focus on the external, you know, I got to get bigger muscles and do this and that. Like, what about like that internal muscle that we need to work on? You can't read memes on Instagram and expect to change your life. You know what I mean? And philosophy, a Stoic philosophy, is really, it's like that internal muscle that I work on that allows me to work on my external muscle. You know what I mean?
Oh,
I don't know if that's
no, I definitely know what you mean, man. And I want to go a little bit deeper with this, because this is some next level stuff. So, do you like, so I just want to know, like, practically from the day to day, do you like do some like journaling? Is there like some mantras or quotes, or do you do like some specific readings every day? Like, what does that look like at this point in your life?
Well, I've read a lot of Stoic books, all the Ryan Holiday books. I have like, you know, the Marcus Aurelius Meditations, a couple of famous Stoic philosophers. I started reading some of their books. You know, it's kind of confusing. I don't like wake up and get on my knees and think about like Stoicism and pray to this, you know, Zeno, you know, who was the founder of Stoicism. But it's basically just being mindful of good thought. You know, it's a philosophy that, like I said, you focus on the things you can control, and the things that you can't control, you just disregard. You know, seeking virtue, which are like the four cardinal virtues, are like temperance, justice, and courage. Got the other one. But it's basically just living a life of principle and being mindful of it. I constantly read Stoic quotes and kind of apply these quotes into my life. With social media is helpful. I have a couple books that I read about Stoicism from time to time. It's basically just like, it's not like I like read all day long every day and, you know, study this philosophy. It's like it's application in real life. And if you've read it about Stoic philosophy enough, you're just being mindful of all these principles that you just try to apply. So that's how I live my Stoic life. Now, actually, journaling is a part of it. That's a big part of Stoicism. And that's one thing that I struggle with, because like, it's not like you're going to be this perfect sage Stoic, you know. I don't like writing. Like, I can't stand it. It's very difficult. Sometimes, like, I don't like reading my thoughts on paper. So I have a difficulty doing that. But when I have, my life has improved. Absolutely.
Very cool, Anthony. So talk to me before we get into the bodybuilding talk. So, you discover Stoicism, you start having, kind of some self-discovery. Talk to me about when you kind of like got, free from the addiction habits, and what was the process of you maybe getting work, just kind of like steadying your life. What did that look like at that point?
It was a day-to-day process. It's really interesting that you just asked me that, because it's not like you just get sober and you discover Stoicism and just your life just automatically improves. It's like I went from like a homeless shelter to a halfway house, to getting a roommate, to actually getting my own. It was a process. It took several years. I'm almost 10 years sober now, and like I'm finally in my life. Well, a couple of years ago, where I got a good job. I enrolled in school again, got a couple bucks in my pocket, and then I don't have any children at this point, so I have a lot of freedom to apply, and when I got sober over the course of years, it felt like, I had this like ice that was like melting off of me, that was like covering my soul, and finally like it melted over the course of time of being sober. And I'm like, I feel like my old self again, driven, disciplined, purposeful. I had goals, I wanted to be a good person. I wanted to get back to other people. I felt like who I was again when I was younger, and it was a slow process. And it wasn't until just a couple of years ago when I was like, I feel like a responsible adult again. I got a great job, and I have purpose in my life now. Like, now, what do I want to do with all this extra time and all this purpose, and that's when I was like, I really want to focus on my bodybuilding career, because I would have felt like if I would have got old and looked back and I never had man, I did everything, man. I sold my car. Like, I got rid of things I didn't need anymore. Like, I was skipping family functions. I didn't even cheat on my off season. Like, my whole life was like around the clock bodybuilding, and I don't know if you're familiar with AJ Sims with Cement Factory, but him, like, his expectations of you as an athlete or a client is very high. So for me, with AJ Sims and what he was demanding of me, like because I wanted this, like I didn't want to take any shortcuts, and I was willing to sacrifice anything. And I met him too a couple of years ago through social media, and just things kind of just took off. I started getting that physique that I've always acquired to have. You just don't build it overnight. So it's been quite the journey.
So I want you to talk about that then. So talk about once you kind of started getting things back together in your life, when did the strength training, the lifting weights come back in, and then talk about that process of connecting with AJ, going all in, because that's something I read on your Instagram. There was a post, and it was very well put, about the importance of going all in bodybuilding. I think more importantly though, in life, right? So just unpack all of that, because I've had communication with AJ at some point. He's going to be on the podcast, because all I ever hear about him is very positive things from his clients that have been on the podcast. So why don't you just unpack going all in, please, Anthony?
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Just like I said, I got sober about 10 years ago, and over the process of time, I started acquiring things, and amongst those things was like, the freedom and drive and discipline that I had when I was younger, and I was able to be put in a position that I could pursue my passion, because, it wasn't anything financial holding me back. I didn't have anything with family holding me back, nothing like that. And in all honesty, I just like, I got to do this now. I was just finished completing my associate's degree. I was going to transfer to a 4-year school here in Boise State. And I'm like, let's put school on hold for just a moment, and let's go all in. Like I said, and bodybuilding, it can be a very expensive, hobby. And that's, like I said, when I sold my car, I researched coaches for a year before I decided on AJ. Like, I saw all the best ones, like Patrick Tour, there's a couple of guys from Canada, and just a couple of like coaches, like all like the big like social media coaches, like I researched them, and I saw AJ, and his guys just looked like just harder and leaner and just more vascular than all these other athletes. And I was like, there's like something different. And I was like asking my buddies too, and I was like, look at like AJ's guys, they just look like they just like more conditioned than everyone else. And I was like, I've always been told that I have the size, but I lacked conditioning. And I'm like, that's my coach, you know. And I followed him for a year, and he responded to like one of my DMs with with an audio message, and I was like, man, that's pretty cool. He doesn't even know who I am. I can imagine he's probably a pretty good coach too. You know, that's when I was, you know, like I said, I sold my car and just put my other plans on hold and hired AJ and a couple of Kenny Wallach, a great posing coach, and I just put all my money into like food and supplements and just everything, you know. And it took me about a year and a half. And like my first competition with AJ is up here at the Cascadian Classic, a great show in Oregon. And you know, won the overall there. And I was just like, I gotta do this, you know, like right after I got done, like when I was texting AJ, you know, I was like, man, I don't want to screw this up. I was like, I want to become a professional. Like I wasn't just like seeking that pro card. Like I wanted to be a professional bodybuilder. It wasn't like I wasn't just chasing a card, you know. And I didn't even cheat post show. I think I might have like a little brownie or something like that, but I didn't want to screw up that rebound, you know. And I was like, I want to take it to the next level. And we decided on North Americans after that. And I'm 37, obviously, so I was able to enter in the you know, masters and then the regular. And I just came in so field. It was crazy. You know, I was like, I got to do well with this. And then I won the masters overall 35. And I got third in the regular open. It was funny. My girlfriend came backstage after that, and like I wasn't even like, you know, I just achieved my dream, and I was like, damn it, I wanted that like open overall. You know, I didn't think I was getting open overall. I thought maybe the class. You know, I was like, but I'm not even getting my chance. You know, and I was like, it's all good though. I mean, I was happy. We did pretty great. And then there was a pro show that actually had a Masters 212 class, the Legion here in Reno, which was a couple weeks, like 6 weeks, I think, after NAs. And then we decided to do that. It was a long prep. It started in February. Like towards the end, I was struggling a little bit. Like my best look was probably NAs. Just after that, I was like, I was just trying to hold on. But yeah, it's been quite the experience, you know, with, you know, me and AJ and you know, like I said, when I got sober 10 years ago, it was a slow process of, you know, I started working out a little bit and then still eating like crap, working out a little bit, you know, and eating like crap. And then I was like, finally, like I stopped eating like crap and working out more. And then I got a coach, and then I got a better coach. It was a slow process, you know, and it was the all in portion of it in my mind. You know, I think that was where things started to change, because to become a professional bodybuilder and like really be successful in the sport, like you can't have like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You gotta throw it all in, you know. You gotta sacrifice some things, you know. You gotta do the things, everything that your coach tells you to do, and you can't cut corners, you know. It's just not possible. So I don't know, did that kind of make sense, or did I kind of veer off topic a little bit?
No, you're perfect, Anthony. It's great, man. So so was this all when you earned your IFBB Pro card and then stepped on the 212 Legion Pro show stage? Was this 2019?
No, this is like just recently. Like I just turned pro September 2nd at NAs, and then the Legion show was October 22nd, just this year. Okay, this just happened all recently that we achieved this.
Awesome. So yeah, let's take a step back. 2020, obviously that was a crazy year for everybody for the most part, but so coming into 2021, did you have any plans in 2020 to compete? And then did they kind of get knocked off the tracks because of COVID and all that, or was your focus 2021 the whole time?
2021 the whole time. Like I competed in like a local show here, and I got second in Idaho, and this was like in 2019. And And then I kind of just took a little time off, you know, like, but I was like slowly getting back into it. You know, it took a long time to like get the confidence back and get the drive and all that. And I took a little time off, and all while taking that time off, that's when I was like researching coaches and like really seeing what this whole like bodybuilding game, social media. I just got on Instagram a couple years ago, you know, and that's when I started discovering, you know, social media and bodybuilding, and just I learned names and about coaches and stuff like that. And you know, when I researched AJ, and in 2020, you know, he decided with everything that was going on, we would just kind of like hold off on 2020 and just come in 2021, because that's when like COVID hit and everything like that. All these shows were getting canceled. We just thought, hey, let's take some time to make some improvements, which we did, you know, and then compete in 2021, which is what happened.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I want you to talk a little bit more. When you knew that you had your IFBB Pro card, there's a lot of life that you lived at your young age. I can't even imagine the feelings, the emotions. So talk about that moment when you knew you were an IFBB Pro. I mean, you went all in, man. You sold your car. You got one of the best coaches. You've overcome addiction. Like, what was going on in your mind and your heart at that time, in that moment, Anthony?
And I don't know, like you hear all these like stories where like people like, you know, like they just say, screw it, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna see what happens. You know what I mean? And you hear about stories about this, but you don't actually like, you know, there's not a lot of many people that have actually applied that in their life and know what it's really like. And I really wanted to see what that was all about, you know, and that's when I like, it's not like I had to like give up a lot of things. I gave up a car that, you know, it wasn't like I had to give up all these things, but it required a lot of work. And when I knew I looked really good in an ace, you know, I felt really confident. But when I was like at center at the Masters, and I was like top 3 center in the Open, I was like, man, we're gonna do something with this. And then I ended up winning my class in Masters, and then they put us up at the overall, and I didn't even know there was an overall. I just thought you just go pro, win in a class. But NA's does things a little different. Like you have to like win your class and then like top 3 in the overall. And then I ended up getting called up for the overall, and I have this video where like my girlfriend was just like screaming in the background, and I'm up there like trying to like keep my relaxed pose, like, dude, this is really happening. Like, oh my God, you know, it was like it's the most surreal feeling. And then when you get your card, and you're like walking back, like you're carrying your card, you know, you're walking backstage, all the other competitors and all the other classes are lined up, like usually heavier, older classes, whatever, like everybody's like congratulating you, like, good job, man. You did great, man. Good for you. God bless you, you know? And I don't know if you ever seen that movie Gladiator with Russell Crowe, but he's a Roman soldier, and he's like walking by all the soldiers, and all of the soldiers are like, kind of like, saying, hey, in honor of our general and this forth. And it's just like, you kind of feel like somebody, you know. I don't know, man. It was like, it's been a long, I hadn't had that feeling since I was a kid in sports, you know, really like succeeding in sports, and that show when I was 17. And I got that feeling like, as an adult, and that was what I was looking for. It was surreal. Like, I didn't even know what happened. I pretty much kind of like blanked out. I was on the plane on the way home from Pittsburgh, and I was like, holy shit, like I just won my pro card. And I started crying, you know. I was like, because I was so laser focused. It was so surreal that like I literally like blanked out. Like I didn't even know what happened until like my flight home. It's crazy.
Beautiful.
It's a big deal, man.
I love these stories, dude, because it's just it's real life. So then you said you stepped on the Legion stage 212, dude. Like, talk about that experience, because I mean, you just earned your IFBB Pro card. You went through all of this, and then you're on a pro stage shortly after. What was that experience like, Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, usually like you see a lot of guys when at the national level, they'll take a little time off, especially like in the Open and 212 divisions. You know, I'm a light heavyweight, you know, and 212, you know, I think I came in at like 193s for light heavyweights at NAs, and I knew I was like, I need a little bit more size, but like that pro show was so like right after NAs, like everybody's like, just do it, man, just see what happens, you know. And so I was like, why not, you know. And I was in great shape. You know, I wasn't like too small. I don't think. I could always be bigger, of course, but I knew like with AJ, like I know I'm at least going to come in condition. You know, I'm not going to be the biggest guy there, but I knew I'd be conditioned. So I felt still confident. It was actually really cool because I remember David Henry, legendary 212 pro. You know, we were at weigh-ins and he was in front of me, and I was like, man, I might get to compete against David Henry. Like, I didn't even care how I did. I just wanted to be like next to David Henry on stage. You know, it didn't end up happening. I didn't win my class, but it was pretty surreal, man. It felt like, you know, when you're a youngster in the sport, like you never think you're going to get to that level, and like and you're like kind of standing up, you're like, wow, I can really do this. I never thought I would be able to go pro, and I did. And like, so now I'm like in my head, I'm like, I never thought I'd be able to be competitive as a pro. And I feel like that may be possible. I need to take a little time off to grow, you know, but I still feel it's possible. And it's kind of surreal. Like I did a regional, a national, and then a pro, like all in the same year. And so I kind of want to just keep that going a little bit, you know? So we'll see what happens.
100%. So talk to me a little bit about what your plans are in 2022. Are you going to take that whole year off? Are you going to try to compete mid-year, later in the year? What are you and AJ thinking at this point?
We didn't really like, right now I'm kind of pumping the brakes a little bit and focusing on my health. And, you know, obviously still trying to grow in the process. Didn't really set a date or anything like that. I still have that to discuss with him. But the plan for now is to, you know, some people when they take time off is to grow, you know. And yeah, I had gotten a little feedback from some judges, you know, on the national level and some other people, and said I'm about 193 like for NAs. But like to feel like, you know, maybe with another about 12 pounds of muscle tissue, I might actually be competitive on a 212 stage. So that's the goal, is probably just to take some time off and maybe possibly compete at the end of 2022. But we'll kind of see where things go. You know, if I want to kind of, I might just take the whole year off and just continue to grow and shoot for 2023. We'll see. But no show date planned as of yet. Just kind of focused on just gaining some muscle in the meantime.
So what does your training kind of look like? What's your philosophy? Has it changed over the years? What is your split? Kind of some of the nuts and bolts in terms of that.
You know, it has changed. It mainly changed when I met AJ. Like, he's about volume, and he gave me basically like a phase 1 workout plan when I first signed up with him. And like, I just wasn't used to like all this volume, like 4 or 5 sets, like 12 to 15 reps. I've always been doing this like 8 to 12 my entire life. And my body like responded to that. You know, people think like, oh, you can't grow on doing that many reps and sets, and you need to rest more and this and that. And that was not the case for me. I'd never trained like that my entire life. And his philosophy is the volume and to failure, like really pushing every set, having purpose behind your sets and your reps. And I followed that, and I grew. And that's basically what it takes. Like I don't cut corners in the gym. Like, you know, usually like my last couple of sets are usually to failure. I'm really like pushing every set. I don't do like squats or anything like that. We seem to do a lot of Smith machine stuff and leg press, which is fine. You know, I haven't had an issue putting size on my legs. But you know, his training plan, which is what I've been following, has been different than the way I've done it my entire life. So it's seemed to work for me. So I'm sticking to that. My splits usually back, Monday, Tuesdays, shoulders and triceps, Wednesdays, legs, and then off. And then chest and biceps Friday. And then it's kind of interesting. He has me do another kind of another day to like focus on my weak points and hamstrings again for the second time. You know, and my hamstrings grew like working them twice a week, and then off day on Sunday. It's been really effective for me.
So touch on what are some of those body parts that you are trying to kind of bring up in this next year?
Definitely. I got feedback from most judges and just people in general. I tore my right pec tendon, 2017, I think, or 18. like literally like it snapped off the bone and I had to have it like surgically reattached. So I'm always a little gun shy with pressing movements in the gym. So definitely my chest is something that I need to bring up. And I've always had big arms, I thought, my entire life, but some of the feedback I got from coaches was like, you need to get more peak in your biceps. And like, that's really good to hear. And I've had this like little lat tear for the last couple of years that hasn't been able to heal. So I haven't been able to do like heavy pull downs. So I lack like width in my back. So basically biceps, chest, and back. And I think I'll, bring those up and I should be okay. Everything else seems to be up to speed. You can always be bigger all around. So I'm not going to hold back.
For sure. Who are a few of the guys? It can be open, it can be 212, it can be classic. It doesn't matter. But who are a few of the guys that you really kind of admire their physiques on the current IFBB circuit, Anthony?
Definitely like in 212, Derek Lunsford. I liked, there's like a couple of these like European or South American athletes. I don't know their names. I think one of the guys' name's Angel something. He's from Europe, I think, or South America. He's got a great physique. Keon Prodigy, Sean Clarita. I saw Sean Clarita at the Legion. Like I watched him and Reagan Grimes compete. Like that was amazing. Like how someone of that stature and with like he shows his size off really well. Like I don't know how like being like 50, 60, 70 pounds smaller than some of these other guys. It was weird. It was like this like optical illusion where he still matched them. It was crazy. He's something else, man. I love that guy. As far as open, I might be, bruising it and saying his name wrong, but is it Ian Blair?
Yep, Ian from Canada. Yep.
From Canada. Like I love, for some reason that guy's got a great look to me. I think he's awesome. I love Hunter Labrada. Like Hunter Labrada and Ian Blair in the open division, I think, and Regan Grimes, man. I mean, he's not like the hugest, but like he's like, if there was a physique that I'd love to have more than anybody's, it's probably his. So probably those three guys in open. Classic, obviously Chris Bumstead, and it would be it.
Very cool, man. So I want to ask you about your significant other, because you've there's a couple posts on your Instagram about her. So what has she brought into your life? What does she mean to you? How has that kind of helped you maybe focus or just kind of take your life personally to another level?
I have a lot of gratitude. Her name's Lauren. Lola is what she goes on social media, and I'm really grateful for her. Usually like growing up, you get these like relationships and your 20s and your party and stuff like that. So like I've never like had somebody to like really grow with and to motivate me, because like I was always like not getting along with them a lot of the time. But like I'm in my 30s now, and she's in her 30s as well, and we kind of both met. And I remember like one of our first conversations, she had said like I'm trying to go pro in the sport, and I was like, you too? Like where have you been? Like you know what I mean? And it's just we just live this sport, like all we talk about. I mean there's more to it obviously, but a big part of our conversations daily is bodybuilding. And we both have great coaches, online coaches. We both check in with them consistently. We've been on meal plans since we met. Like literally, like the 75% of our relationship has been on prep too, which can be challenging in a relationship. But when you meet somebody that like understands the process, they can lift you up as opposed to like bringing you down. You know what I mean? So like we both live the life, and we both like know what it demands of us. And honestly, going to shows across the country and helping somebody like prep and tan and help with the meals, and like she was a lifesaver. NA's like I ran out of food time to time. She'd take like Ubers and run around Ubers all over Pittsburgh looking for food that I needed and supplements, and like she's been very, very beneficial to my success. And we both met. We were both amateurs, and in the process of being with one another, she ended up going pro at Olympia Amateur. She won her class, and then she got second overall. So, and we were both there at each other's shows for that. So it's been quite the experience. She's kind of gotten a little involved in the Stoicism too. She's always pretty curious about that. And it's helped improve her life. You'll see us like on Instagram from time to time. We jump in rivers in the cold and hike barefoot and do all this like weird stuff. We're like, you know, Bonnie and Clyde, but we're not like breaking the law or anything. You know what I mean? So she's been a great asset to my life.
That's cool, man. So is it fair to say, Anthony, that bodybuilding has really given you, you know, that much needed purpose in your life, and it's really given you kind of your life back?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Bodybuilding, it demands a lot of you, you know, in the process of bodybuilding. It's a sport that people say, you know, bodybuilding, it's a strength sport. I think it's an endurance sport, because like it takes so long, you know, to get from point A to point B, and the progress, patience that's required, discipline, being courageous, you know, pushing through the limits when you're, you know, in pain and you don't want to go any further. Like, I mean, all like life's, you know, positive qualities and principles, I apply that into bodybuilding, and bodybuilding applies that to me. It's definitely helped me succeed in my life. And obviously it's something that I can put some purpose into, you know, because I've always told that, you know, if you don't, you can't keep what you have unless, you know, you got to give it away to keep what you have. And bodybuilding for me, it's like at this point, like I need to start helping other people, you know, and show them what it's done for me. Because like, you know, when when you get all jacked in bodybuilding, you think you get all this attention from women and this and that. It's not really the case. Like it's a bro sport. Like it's the guys like, oh man, you look great, man. I want to be like you. I want to be straight like you. I want to get buff like you. And you know, it's a lot of camaraderie in this sport. I've met a lot of people just competing this last year, like where we're just men, and we just like lift each other up and help each other out. And it's a lot of camaraderie in the sport. And I think that's what, especially, you know, I'm all about, you know, just that brotherhood. And I feel like I get that in bodybuilding. So it's honestly.
Do you have kind of like an end vision or an end goal in terms of your competing in bodybuilding, or are you just kind of living in the moment and going with the flow?
There's a little bit of both. I do. Obviously, I'm 37. I'd like to compete, you know, as long as, I mean, at that pro show, the Legion, there was Masters Pro divisions, and like some of these guys were like in their 60s and 70s, like just still going at it. And I'm like, and you know, they still had a six pack. And I'm like, man, I feel like that could be me, as long as my health was, you know, supported and I was in good. It's always about your health first, you know, and if I can be, you know, if I can extend that long to still be doing this, then absolutely, yeah. I do kind of have a goal down the road, and I'm thinking like way down the road, where I'd like to be a professional bodybuilder and you know, an endurance athlete at the same time. I wanted to get involved maybe in like doing like an Ironman or something like that in the future. That's kind of like another long-term goal I have, but it's not really conducive with a bodybuilding lifestyle, so I got to choose one or the other. But eventually I kind of want to do a little, you know, side coaching to help some other people, not just with like bodybuilding, but just overall men's health and so forth like that.
Yeah, so, no, that's cool. What's the, I'm curious, since you brought it up, what's kind of the fascination or the interest in, you know, the Ironman or the endurance stuff?
The mental fortitude. In Stoicism, we're all about voluntary discomfort and doing the harder things, the higher road. And I like being challenged, like mentally, physically, of course, but mentally as well. And in endurance sports, it's even just with me, like my body, it seems like my body, like when I'm like, I'm in the cold river, like I jump in cold rivers during the you know, cold winter time. They're still on the ground, water's like freezing. And it's like, my body like gives out before my mind does, you know what I mean? And I want to like kind of like match the two. And I love endurance sports, this the mental fortitude that's like required to like sustain such a long amount of like running or swimming or biking. And I can't swim. I'm too muscular. But I don't want that to hold me back. I want to be able to look back and be old and be like, man, I achieved everything I ever wanted to do. You know, I don't know. I just want to do it.
No, that's respectable. Well, so tell me about the cold plunges and stuff like that. What is kind of that? Is that like more of a mental thing, or is it physical and mental? Why do you guys do that?
It's both. You'd have to really, well, you said you live in Colorado or Iowa right now?
I live in Iowa right now. I've lived in Colorado.
Oh, okay. I mean, in Idaho, like we have like tons of like rivers here, you know, country and mountains and so forth. And you'd have to, first of all, you'd have to really try it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. When you do a cold river plunge, usually I kind of set a goal like, hey, I want to stay in for 30 seconds. You get in and you get this shock, right? And you just like, you force yourself to look past the discomfort that you're feeling. And we were able to like maintain that control of yourself. It feels powerful, like within. And you face a challenge and you accomplish your goal, and it feels really good. But also, you know, just 30 seconds to a minute in the cold water, you get out and your body gets this like crazy rush of adrenaline and norepinephrine and dopamine. So I don't know if it's because like I'm an addict or anything, but I think that might have something to do with it. You feel like this euphoria when you get it. Feels great. Like you'd have to try it to really understand. Like Lauren knows what I'm talking about. But I don't know, it's just you feel like you're connected. I'm not like a hippie or anything like that, but you feel connected with nature, you know. And like I said, it's a stoic exercise where you force yourself to do things that are uncomfortable. So when discomfort does hit, when you're unexpecting it, like you can deal with it more appropriately. And even though it's a physical thing, it really helps mentally as well. So that's the purpose. And it gives you something to do during the wintertime, I guess.
Yeah, man, out there in Idaho, we just got 6-7 inches of snow here in Iowa where I'm at yesterday. So there's definitely opportunities to be out in the cold, man, and challenge the body and the brain. So Anthony, I kind of want to wrap it up here. We've been going close to an hour. Been an awesome conversation, man. Before we kind of close it out, before I wrap it up, you know, maybe somebody's listening to this. I've had several athletes on the podcast that have overcome addiction, and bodybuilding, you know, they would say has saved their lives, right? So maybe somebody's listening, they're going through an addiction right now. Maybe they're recovering. They've listened to this and they've been hit where they needed to be hit today. So somebody that's in that situation today, listening to this or watching this on YouTube, do you have any words of maybe encouragement or anything that you learned through your process of addiction that you would like to leave with those people or share with them?
You know, two things. Yeah. And this might sound a little cliche, but it's more important than anything. It's just the fact of just like reaching out for help, man. You know, for me, I was so stubborn and prideful, and I didn't want anybody to know what I was going through. You know, I thought it was weak and this and that. And I didn't know that so many people wanted to help me. Like as soon as I exposed the fact that I was struggling and I was an addict, you know, people kind of came out of the woodworks to help me overcome that. You know, so the biggest thing is it's not something to be ashamed of. You know, it's more common than a lot of people think. I've actually shared a little bit of my stories on Instagram, and I've had more people respond in my DMs and anything else, really just saying, hey man, really thank you for bringing that up. Like I've actually been struggling with the same thing, and I didn't know that bodybuilders could have addiction issues and this and that. You guys always look so healthy. And sometimes that can kind of be quite the opposite. So that's something to bear in mind.
Beautiful, man. So Anthony, if somebody wants to connect with you through social media, if somebody wants to reach out to you, like we just said, maybe your story's really positively impacted them and helped them, where can where can the listeners kind of go to you to connect with you and to reach out?
I mean, just my social media platform would be the easiest way, obviously. You know, I'm on social media. Just type in Anthony DeHerrera. I'm there. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, just DM me. I'm always able to help. Like, obviously, I'm not, you know, I can just share my experience. That's just the best I can do. Obviously, I'm not like a a therapist or a physician or a doctor or patient officer that can help you or anything like that. But like, I can definitely share through experience. You know, if you just DM me, I can put you in the right direction. You know, if there's something I feel like I can assist with, I'm always there to help. Extend my arm, man. I know what it's like, so I'm available. DM me.
Cool. Last question for you here quickly. If you have one book recommendation for anybody listening to this or watching it, what would that book be?
And Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. It's his diary as a Stoic emperor 2,000 years ago. Like a philosophy, you'd be surprised how philosophy can really assist in your bodybuilding goals. You know, it's that internal mind muscle. So just remember the words Marcus Aurelius. I don't know.
Very good. Anthony, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on to the podcast, sharing your story, man. It's a big reason why I'm passionate about this podcast and kind of getting behind the muscle, man, because we see everything on social media. We see the muscles, we see kind of the lights and the action, but we all have a story. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me, dude.
You're welcome. All of you, once again, tuning into another episode of Behind the Muscle podcast. I just want to say thank you to you. I'm so just appreciative of you guys listening and supporting the podcast. Just quickly here before I wrap it up, a few things. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That's really important because I release all of these episodes first on YouTube, and then I distribute them throughout the rest of the podcast platforms. Also, if you're on YouTube right now, hit the like button and go into the comment section. Just leave a comment. Just share something in terms of feedback. Share maybe your favorite part of Anthony's story or the favorite part of our conversation, a takeaway, whatever's kind of on your heart to share in the YouTube comment section. I always really appreciate seeing that, reading it, and getting that feedback. And then finally, if you guys would just take this episode, share it on your Instagram stories, make sure you tag Anthony, tag Behind the Muscle so that we know you listened and found great value specifically in this episode. And I will leave you all in closing with this. Remember, behind the muscle, there's always a story. We'll catch you guys later.